Welcome to the Firekeeper Circle. Today you could come and view us at onefeatherjournal.com and chat live with us. Today's guests are Eve Crow and Nicholas Andrews. And please join me in welcoming Master Onefeather. How are you today, Master Onefeather?
Wonderful. It's another beautiful evening here in the heartland of the nation, and we're getting a little glimmering now of coming out of our Arctic cycle, so a little bit warmer. And now, what
Well,
am I hearing?
do you hear something?
Yeah,
It's aliens. It's aliens. It's the warm aliens because I was telling you telepathically that it's 80 degrees here in Texas.
good Lord.
And it
Uh,
is Mercury retrograde. I don't hear anything else. So, how is your sound over there?
um,
You may, if you have another window open, you may be hearing feedback from the website. If you have another window open, or you could be hearing the chat room.
Right, every time somebody puts a chat in, you're going to hear a sort of like bubbles. Sort
yeah,
of sound.
okay. There
Did
we
you?
go.
Okay.
I think I nipped that one in the bud. That was kind of a rough
Yeah,
launch, but it is Mercury retrograde. And once again, we are reminded of the impish nature of that little planet as it dances backward into the very impish nature of good old Aquarius, which is a planet that is influenced most heavily by the planet Uranus. It's a sign, I should say, that is influenced by Uranus. And so we get these weird things that happen when Mercury retrogrades from Pisces back into Aquarius. And obviously that was the beginning of our show, a lovely launch. Anyway, for those of us in the Midwest, we do have a lovely launch toward warmer weather, and that's always a good thing. And our guest is out on the West Coast. It's sunny California, so I'm sure that she's enjoying those tropical breezes off the Pacific Ocean, which is also a lovely way to start one's day, getting up and greeting the day and looking out at the ocean and recognizing how infinite life really is. So how are you this evening, Eve?
Hi there, I'm well, I'm well. And yes, I am enjoying the warm breezes and the warm weather. However, a lot of us are doing rain dances to create more rain here.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, so there's a lot of that going on. It finally started raining in Chico and in Northern California, which will help us down here in Southern California.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of people fail to realize that basically from Big Sur south, it is technically a desert region. And, as far as man's encroachment on the land there, we have manufactured ways of filling in the gaps when the drought does arrive. But hopefully you guys will have the monsoon season kick in before long, and Santa Ana's won't kick in at all, and life will be good.
Yes.
Well, now, as we're starting to look at the theme for this evening, which is all about healing, regeneration, getting our lives back on track, exactly what was it that drew you into this life path that you're currently on?
Well, Chris, it was many things. One, when I was 18, I was in a car accident, and my face had gone through the windshield of a car, and I was in a coma and had a near-death experience, and I had a lot of revelations while I was in the coma state, and when I came out and recovered and healed, I felt very connected to God and to the universe and to the spirits. And as time went on, I ran into an astrologer, and she did my chart, and she said, "You're actually a healer, a psychic reader, an artist, a singer, and a workshop leader." And I said, "I would love to be that person. What do I need to do to develop that?" And she said, you need to do some healing and your gifts will unravel. And so I started doing some healings, and one of the most profound healing was from a shaman. And he did a soul retrieval for me, and he found a part of my soul through that car accident. Now, he did not know about the car accident. He basically did the soul retrieval, and he said, I'm seeing the scene of a car accident, and I see a part of your soul left your body so that you wouldn't have to feel the impact of hitting the windshield. And that part of your soul has been floating out in the ethers, and I just blew that back into you. At that time period, I had found the shaman because I was diagnosed with chronic fatigue and fibromyalgia. After I had had the soul retrieval, there was no chronic fatigue or fibromyalgia. And that catapulted me on the path of, I want to reach as many people as I can, perhaps 1,000 per year, and to help people that think that they have debilitating diseases when all they need is soul retrieval and some other healing modalities. And that's what began the path for me 25 years ago.
Oh, that's lovely. Now, when you had that experience of being in the coma, being somewhat disconnected from the physical realm, do you recall observing yourself from your spiritual being and looking down on your body, or being aware of your body in a room or something like that? Or was it just into the light and epiphanies and awakenings? Or what exactly did you experience in that initial impact state?
Actually, both. It's interesting that you said that, or that you phrased it in that way. When the car accident happened itself, I remember moving through time and space. I didn't see a light. It felt more like darkness, actually, but traveling, moving slowly through something. And I was saying hello to people that I loved really deeply. I don't know who they were, but I remember saying, hi, oh, it's so wonderful to see you. And at that time period, I hadn't had any aunts or uncles or grandmothers or anyone who had died, so I'm not sure who they were. I'm assuming they were spiritual family. Then, when I was in the hospital in the coma state, at some point, I remember being somewhere probably on the ceiling, looking down. I didn't see my body, but I saw my whole family, and I saw aunts and uncles. And I remember thinking, why is everyone here visiting me? What are they doing here? I didn't know what had happened to me. I didn't know that I wasn't in the body. And at some point, I crashed back into the body. And I use that phrase because that's how it felt. It felt like I was on a roller coaster, and I came to the end of the roller coaster and fell into the body. And at that time period, all I remember is my mother holding a pan, and I was vomiting for a while. I had a very bad head injury. My whole face was scarred. Of course, we didn't know about Harry Potter back then, and in our culture, we didn't study shamanism, so I didn't know it was my near-death experience and that shamans scar themselves and all of that. My family and I were horrified at what my face looked like, and we just wanted to get rid of the scars. You know, I was a teenager. So I went through the process of a lot of plastic surgery and dermabrasions and all of that, and I had to learn at a very young age how to develop my inner beauty because I did not have physical beauty. It was very painful, but it was such a gift. It was the most beautiful gift, and it enabled me to sit with people and to be able to sit with their pain and their traumas, because I had experienced a trauma. I knew what it was like. I could sit and hold space for them. I didn't get impatient or say, you know, get over it. I sat with them and while they cried or screamed or talked, and that's part of my medicine, is that happened as a gift.
Very good. Now, do you actually have Native American bloodlines in your ancestry? Or
I don't,
is it more... Yeah, it's a lot of people don't really know actually the figures on Native American ancestry. Some people are guessing 1 out of 9 people in this country have Native American blood. I've also heard it go all the way up to 1 out of 32. So a lot of people living on Turtle Island do have native blood, but they're not aware of it. And
Right.
so you were saying that you don't have an awareness of any actual physical
When I was
DNA.
when I was younger, I remember someone in the family saying that we had some Native American in our blood, and when I got older and asked, nobody knew, and I don't think any of us have had time to do our family tree. My grandmother and great-grandmother were also healers. They were Italian, and they did healings to, I would call them extractions, and to clear people of the evil eye. And those were the phrases that they used. But people would bring their children and people to them, and they would do healings on them. And so it's somewhere in our blood. And a couple of Native Americans that I studied with said, "You are Indian. It doesn't matter whether you don't need to go find out. You sing Indian. You live your life Indian and in a shamanic way, and that it's not important to find out." So I just let it go.
Hmm. Yeah, I was just
Yeah.
curious as to whether or not there was an actual tribal identity because, in here on Turtle Island, we have so many different individual nations, and they all have very specific approaches to their spirituality that are, I guess you could say, things that are in common. Uh, but then as you started to, you had this experience with the Native American healer, and then as you started to step into that role as a uh, soul retrieval person, as a healer, and working with different modalities that were kind of indigenous to this country, to this nation. Um, did you find that there was a synchronicity kind of thing that kicked in where you were all of a sudden meeting the right people at the right time in order to kind of open the next door for you?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I started out being a psychic reader and was reading tarot cards at a spa. And then I started practicing Reiki and teaching Reiki. And it wasn't a Native American, it was actually a shaman who had given me the soul retrieval. And I said to him, I said, "I think I'm doing soul retrieval. Would you teach me?" And he said, let me journey on that, and I'll get back with you in 3 days. This was David Perry, who lives in Massachusetts. And he came back to me and he said, "You really need to study with a lot of different shamans and learn as much as you can, because you're going to have a wide variety of people to serve." And so that's what I did. Every weekend for years, I studied with the Foundation for Shamanic Studies. I studied with Sandra Ingerman, David Corbin, Nan Moss, everyone that I felt to be ethical. And it has been an amazing path. And I'm so grateful that I did study with a lot of different people, Norwegian shamans, Peruvian shamans, Larry Peters, people that have gone to these different cultures and learned and come back and taught us.
Hmm. Now, in this journey, do you feel like there is a specific uh, element about soul retrieval that is unique to the Native American way? Do you feel like there is something different than, let's say, Zoroastrianism has its own healing modality? We've got the Aboriginal peoples in Australia; they have unique healing modalities. What to you isolates your modality from the others? Is there a specific thing, or do you feel like they're more or less connected to everything?
I want to be clear on what you're asking. So when you're saying me personally, or shamanism as opposed to something else?
I believe your personal modality that you're working with, because every healer takes what they have learned and they use it in their own unique fashion. So it
Right.
develops an imprint.
Right.
You've imprinted a technique that somebody else shared with you. And what do you think it is that creates a differentiation about your particular imprint? And is it dramatically different than other cultural processes?
Well, because I studied with so many different kinds of shamans, and I know so many different formulas, I call them formulas. You know, just like a recipe, you have to follow the formula for the cure to happen. So what I do when I come together with a client is I do a journey and pray and ask, which formula does this person need? So I have a wide variety of different cultures to draw from because I've studied with so many different kinds of shamans. But personally myself, and at some point when I can carve out the time, I'll write a book. I have 3 healing modalities that I do with people. And one is soul retrieval and shamanism. And the other is what's called karmic release or core healings. And the other is subconscious. And I call it my 3-part session. I believe it's important for everyone to have a soul retrieval, to get parts of the soul back that may have left the body during any kind of trauma, whether you fell off your bike, whether you went through a breakup, your parents died, you lost your job, whatever it is, you experience soul trauma. The second healing clears out all different kinds of emotions and core issues that we all have. We all have a form of abandonment. We all have a form of poverty or lack. Some people have a hard time meeting the love of their life or having a career. And so I tend to be able to get to what is the root core issue that stops this person from having the life that they want and getting to that core. The third session is a subconscious healing, which is vital. Every book that I pick up and read or anything, it's all pointing towards the same thing. Your subconscious mind makes you do 95% of what you do. You have 5% choice of everything that's happening to yourself. And your subconscious mind can't tell the difference between the past and the present. So whatever's happened in the past, your subconscious mind is replaying it until you clear that out. And so in the subconscious healing, you clear out your past baggage, we'll say, and you align as though you're placing an order at a restaurant. You align to the life that you do want. And then your subconscious mind starts to make that happen. And so you would align to a relationship that you're physically, emotionally, sexually, spiritually compatible with. You would align to the job that would be compatible for you and who you are and what your dreams are and your passions are. And you would align to a healthy body, to having your chakras be balanced, the exact color, shape, size, and temperature for you and your body type, to have your meridians and your spine balanced for you. And so the 3-part session has become my, I would say, my medicine that I teach apprentice groups. I teach people how to do this and that I do with people. And when their lives change, they tell their friends, what happened? Your life changed. You got married after 20 years of being single. Or, oh, you have all this money now. What happened? They'll say, well, I did the 3-part session with Eve. And then their friends call me, and then it just keeps going. And so that's
so beautiful, Eve. I just want we've got so many people in the chat and we've gotten compliments. So you guys come on down to onefeatherjournal.com and you can chat live with us and ask questions. But I also wanted to tell Master Onefeather happy Valentine's Day, and will you be my Valentine?
Oh, absolutely. I thought I already was, or you already were mine. But absolutely, yes. I'm going to inject something here real fast. Nick, when you're typing, he has a spectacular healing experience. Are you somehow, how can I state this? In other words, are you removing the struggle or the actual effort or the actual work from him and bearing the burden yourself? Or are you making certain essential demands on the individual being healed to perform certain actions, to follow through with certain disciplines, that sort of thing?
Well, if I'm hearing you correctly, are you wondering if they're not doing their inner work.
Well, just how much work are they actually doing? In other words, do you feel like the universe brings people to you who have already done work, they're ready to be healed, or
Yes.
do you? Okay, so you're feeling like
Usually, I
the,
tend
the,
to work with people. I tend to work with people. My prayer every day is, Creator, Great Spirit, God, bring me the people we can serve. Most of the people that come to me have suffered long enough.
hmm
There's a lot of healing modalities, just like we can now do this on the computer. There's ways to heal quicker now where we don't have to suffer. We're evolving. We don't need to stay in the struggle and the poverty and the lack and the loneliness. There are ways. There's healing CDs, there's people, there's everything that I do can be done remote, whether we're on the computer, we're on the phone, whether I do a journey. It's just the way of the world that we don't need to suffer as much anymore as well. And most of the people that come to me have really suffered enough.
hmm
And if I get a strong feeling that they're not supposed to have my medicine or healing or it's not time, I will tell them it's not time.
Okay, yeah, I just was
Yeah.
curious if people who are listening into the program this evening say they hadn't been doing their work, if the thought occurred to them, oh, this is a fast, easy out. I can just write her a check and she'll take care of all this, and I'll go dancing in the rain. So, but
Well, I'm,
I like to try to clarify things like that so that
yeah,
people don't have that assumption that I can go pay somebody and they will fix me.
right. And they are participating in everything that we do. Maybe not the soul retrieval. Um, in shamanism, basically, the shaman does the actual ceremony and the patient lies still. In the karmic release, the core clearing that I do in the subconscious, I'm with the person. And especially the karmic release, I'm working you. I mean, we're going through all the karma. You're clearing it out of your body. You're asking for it to leave the body. You're going through your mother issues, your father issues, forgiveness. It's very deep. It's very intense healing that you're doing.
Eve, I have a quick question for you.
Yes.
Because I actually I've had a healing session once before. As far as in that work and that master work in that beginning time and the healing, is it more of on your end? Is it a more of a mental or physical apparitions part, or describe what do you see when you're dealing with these people?
Oh, it's so different. It depends on what healing. It depends on whether it's a soul retrieval or a karmic release. Depends on whether they're in person or on the phone. So I'm not sure what you're asking when you say, what am I seeing? Am
Oh
I
no, just like the
seeing,
experience that you have during those that healing. Obviously, the person is gaining something from that as well. So just what
right.
the experience is like for you. It's interesting.
Okay, okay, gotcha. Um, I feel filled with light, happy, powerful, strong, connected because I've taken time to pray, and I just feel wonderful. I love doing healings. I was telling Marcella, even when I'm on vacation, I love to still incorporate healing because I feel connected to the source. And I love drumming and rattling and singing and watching people go from a place of suffering to feeling some relief and some happiness.
Well, that's awesome. That is awesome.
So
Sometimes I
you're
see a lot of visuals too. I'll see people's pain or things like that, and it can be intense. And yeah,
and how often do you feel like there is an actual cathartic release in the process of healing, rather than just a general surrender, let's say? Do you feel like you've witnessed occasions when people had a trauma associated with the release of these attachments and the restoration of that part of themselves that had been left disconnected?
yes. So sometimes when the soul retrieval is over, people cry. and I sit with them and we talk about what they remember, because they're getting parts of their soul back that left the body because of what was happening. And so they kind of forget. A lot of people don't remember their childhood because they've disassociated so much. And so they'll get the soul parts back, and sometimes we need to process that together, or they'll go to their therapist and process whatever needs to be processed. So sometimes people feel really happy, and sometimes people have to cleanse a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, one thought that I have, because I really feel like I have an immense amount of connectivity to my Native American ancestry, and I really feel like I not only have my memories that I'm experiencing, but I have genetic memory from all of my ancestors, probably 17,000 years of people into the past, as well as a sense of having past lives in other areas, other regions. Now, how much have we been diminished by those elements? In other words, are you concentrating more on this specific lifetime, or do you feel like you connect with things from previous lifetimes, or even things that are connected to people's DNA and ancestral memory?
Basically, what I usually say to people is when we're born, if we have had past lives, we're having to clear them. They've created who we are. And so, but we also are born into our parents and our hereditary line. So we're also, when I do the karmic release and when I do core belief clearings, we're also clearing hereditary patterns as well. So
Mm-hmm.
let's say hereditary abuse or hereditary poverty issues because your grandmother or great-grandmother grew up in the recession. So you're going to be born with all of that memory and energy in your system. And so, yes, you are clearing the traumas from the bloodline as well as past lives, as well as this life. That's why I've noticed that when I do these 3 sessions, usually within 6 months, people's lives dramatically change. And I'm not saying it to boast or to brag, but I have testimonials that I get every day, and emails and phone calls and saying, oh my God, this happened, or oh, I'm getting married now, and would you marry us because I have a reverence license, or oh, I have this windfall of money and I can buy a house now or something. And so I just feel really blessed. I feel really blessed that this is my purpose, that I found my purpose, and that it assists other people.
And do you feel like perhaps in this process you're also awakening some of your own personal memories? You're going back and connecting to past lives and various other regions, various other time frames, and even more curiously, do you think perhaps there's even a connectivity to future lives, and that you're bringing all of this together in this particular moment?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, time is the illusion. I don't connect as much with future lives as much as past lives. I can identify with them when I do specific healings. Sometimes I feel as though I have a high priestess in me, a Native American, a shaman, so I can feel different things like that inside of me, whether it's my ancestors or whether there are past lives. I always leave that open because I resonate with the theory that we have past lives, but I don't know for sure. And that's the one thing that I've come to, is the older I get, the more I realize I don't really know. I have theories that I resonate with, and perhaps I'll know when I cross over. I've got a whole list of questions for spirit when it's time to cross over.
Absolutely, yes. And actually, you can probably start getting sneak previews, through your own dreams and your own vision quests.
Yeah.
Marcella is sitting there looking fabulously lovely with her bright red gown on this evening, and she looks like she might have a question or have some questions from the audience. So What's going on, Marcella? Do we have some
Well,
questions from the people?
we were blowing kisses in the chat room, so that was probably what you saw glowing as you were talking. But it's been so interesting, Eve. Um, I'm just dying to learn more about your donkeys too.
Okay. Well, I have two miniature donkeys, and one is named Kimba, who looks like the white buffalo. And everyone thought that as soon as he was born. And we knew that he was a therapy donkey, a healing donkey. And a woman had even said to me right before I moved to San Diego, she said, "Oh, I'm so sad that you're moving. I really wanted Kimba there at my death." And I thought, wow, that's that's a pretty huge statement. And Pachamama is Kimba's girlfriend, and she is a beautiful female donkey, and she's coming into her personality and coming into her own as well. And so wherever I lived, I was running into people that had these little mini donkeys, and they were just opening my heart and helping me through a big forgiveness process that I was in. And when I go down to see them, my heart opens. They're cute, they're silly, they're funny, they're walking through the hula hoops, and they have these little balls that they play with, and they're just adorable. And they're my kids. And my cats are sitting next to me saying, "Hey, what about us?" And so animals have been really big for me in this incarnation. And also all of the healing modalities that can be done on a person can be done on animals, speaking of animals. And I've had people on the way to the emergency room with their pets having convulsions or seizures, and remotely I've done healings and they've turned around and gone home. They didn't need to go to the emergency room, and it saved them thousands of dollars just because the animal was out of balance in some way. So
Mhm.
that's another love, is to work with animals.
And
I,
oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
no problem. I was going to ask you, do you really feel like it's the animals that are out of balance, or is it the people that are around the animals, that the animals are empathic by nature and they take on people's issues and manifest them, so that people end up having to stop and address, an animal having diabetes or something like that, because we see a lot of that sort of thing. So do you think the healing is really on the animal or on the person, and the animal responds to the person's desire to be healed?
That's a profound question. Again, that's one of the mysteries. We don't really know, but you're right. Our animals, oftentimes, animals have the same diseases as people do, as their owners do. So it can be both. In that moment, the person is stressed about the animal, so I address the animal. The animal does better, and then the person feels better. So, right, who knows?
And you were going to say, Marcella?
Well, it's just fascinating to me. So, do you, when somebody comes to you, you use animals to help heal the person. So you do like animal totems and stuff. Can you kind of tell us what that is?
When you say I use animals to help people, are you talking about my donkeys or are you talking about power animals?
Actually, both. Actually, because I know that those donkeys are part of your life, but when you use the animals to help heal other people and how that kind of works.
Okay. So my donkeys are therapy donkeys, but they're babies. So I haven't brought anyone into the pen with them yet. I'm still training them.
Hmm.
So I haven't done a lot in that arena. But with Native American and in shamanism, the belief is that we have a power animal. And the power animal keeps us strong and keeps our immune system strong. And so oftentimes if someone has asthma, they lost their power animal. The power animal left the body for some reason. We do what's called a power animal retrieval. The asthma's gone. I've had that happen a lot. People that have had Tourette's, they'll have a power animal retrieval. The Tourette's will be gone. Pneumonia, anything bronchial usually is power animal related. And sometimes the power animal is one that you would think it is, whatever your favorite animal is.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. I noticed on your testimonial page that you did have a very glowing testimonial from a person who had shingles. And I know that shingles is a hideously painful experience for those who have shingles. It is a virus and or associated with that viral kind of process. Um, do you feel like people in chronic pain and that sort of thing? Um, do you feel like there's some other deeper reason why people manifest these specific things, these specific problems? And does that come through in the process of healing, where you're getting the epiphany, the insight, oh, this person had this happen because of this experience or of this action or whatever? In other words, are you seeing a karmic interaction?
That's another great question. So a couple of things happen. Shingles, for some reason, has been easy for, in my medicine, to be able to clear for people. And it's always been clearing the spirit of the disease. So I would do a journey saying to the spirits, I'd like to clear out, I'd like to extract out the spirit of shingles, the spirit of cancer, the spirit of whatever it is. And sometimes that works. Other times, people make soul contracts before they're born. And the contract is, I'll get cancer or I'll get shingles at this age so that I can go deeper, so that I can get a lesson out of it, so that I can get closer to God, so I can get closer to myself, so I can open my heart. So it's really different for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
It's always important to look for the gift. That was my first lesson when I went through the windshield, was everyone kept saying to me, what's the gift in this? And I remember laying in bed, my face all scarred up and my teeth broken and couldn't walk, and thinking, the gift? What do you mean, what's the gift in that? You know, it took me a while to understand the gift in the pain and in the suffering. You become a better person. You become deeper. You stop running and trying to avoid yourself and making things happen in the outer world. You develop a strong inner world, a strong inner landscape, and a sense of compassion. Most people that lose their jobs or have an illness or a breakup, they have a lot of compassion that opens up for them.
That's beautiful. And we've got a question in the chat from Chrissy Stereo, and she wants to know if someone was interested in doing one of your services, do you need to be there in person or can you do it remotely?
I do it remotely. As a matter of fact, a host of my clients I've never even met. They live in other countries or they live on the East Coast, and everything can be done remotely. Sometimes we're Skyping, sometimes we're on the phone, and sometimes I do it through a shamanic journey. And so the easiest way to reach me is sending me an email or texting or calling the number that's on my website. And that's the easiest and quickest way to reach me, actually, is texting or calling the cell. Second would be going on to emailing me. So yes, it can be done remotely.
Let's tell everybody what your website is. It's evebcrow.com. It's EVEBCROWE.com. Eve with two E's, bcrow.com.
So
yes, thank you.
We have a little crow medicine tonight with us, which is, do you have any alignment with crows? Do you have a sense of connectivity with crows?
Do I?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I wasn't sure if you were talking to me or Marcel.
No,
I tend to have crows and ravens around me all the time.
Mm-hmm.
My mother, as a matter of fact, I said, Mom, when I think of you, I'm going to send you some crows. And she said, okay. And she called one day and she said, you got to cut it out. There are tons of crows in the sky while I'm golfing. And then I said, okay, I'll tone it down. And then she called a week later and she said, there's a crow that landed on my golf cart. And then when she was right about to putt, it landed on her steering wheel and it was cawing and cawing. And so I do have a thing with crows. You know, I wouldn't say that crow's my main power animal, but people will often call me and they'll say, I had a ton of crows outside my window today. Were you thinking of me? Or people will call and say, I saw a coyote today because my business name is Coyote Star. And they'll say, I saw a coyote or I saw a bunch of crows, so I thought it was time to call. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of different animals that are in my path.
Mm-hmm. I think one of the most interesting and most powerful Native American healers that I've had very brief association with was a Frank Fool's crow. So again, the crow theme shows up there, and Frank he was Oglala, if I remember correctly, and he was born on Pine Ridge. And for people who are interested in kind of the basic fundamental uh, comprehension of Native American medicine, what the word means to the Native American consciousness, I would recommend his book. That he actually wrote two books, but he wrote one book, Fool's Crow, Wisdom and Power, and that was written in 1980. He was born in 1890, the same as my grandfather, and he survived all the way until 1989. So he was a man who was 99 years old when he transitioned over, and he definitely carried a lot of crow medicine. He was a great communicator and a brilliant medicine man, and brought a lot of things through for us. So, and you know, I like the name Crow. I think that I've always had Crow medicine around me, and I enjoy their camaraderie and their banter. Now, looking at again the type of work you're doing, you mentioned singing every once in a while. Give us kind of an overview of what you mean when you talk about singing somebody's disease away, singing to the Creator, that sort of thing.
Okay. Well, first of all, when we're little and our mother sings to us, it's very, very healing. And Native Americans and shamans used to rattle and sing to the Creator, to call in the spirits and to call in the directions, but also to soothe the baby. And so when people lay down on the table or come and sit with me, oftentimes I'll sing. And it can be healing to the soul to just hear some of these ancient songs. It's just beautiful. And when you're in one of my circles, whether it's a drum circle or a class that I'm teaching, then we sing together. And that's really beautiful as well. It's just part of it, singing. It heals the soul.
Mm-hmm. Well,
It's
now,
soothing.
well, and there's also very specific energies associated with different songs, like my song. When a Native American elder says, "This is my song," it's not a song that he wrote about, you know, flowers and trees and puppy dogs. The idea of song was the life story. This is my song. I will share my life story with you. Do you feel like when you're singing, there is different stories that you are sharing with the individuals who are seeking healing from you?
Yes. There's specific songs that I sing that I'm thinking in English, but it comes out in native tongue, and I'm talking to the Creator. And there's other songs that I've created just out in nature. I was at Coyote Creek on the Turquoise Trail in Santa Fe area and created a coyote song and started singing this coyote song. And it's a song that I'll only sing when it's important to go into the depth of someone's soul to clear out a very deep hidden wound. Coyote digs deep into the depth of one's soul to clear out the hidden wounds. That's part of its medicine. Coyote's always called the trickster, but coyote can trick you into laughing and can trick you into opening your heart. The trick usually is beautiful unless it's an inverted coyote or somebody who misuses medicine. And so the songs, yes, some are stories, some I've created sitting in a tree down by the ocean, and at fire walks. There's different initiations that I did that I felt were important to do before I could call myself a healer. I wanted to make sure it was spirit coming through me. So I did a fire walk, and I broke an arrow with my throat. Another initiation where a group of us got together and drumming and chanting, and I had an arrow up against my throat and the bow up against a tree, and stood in warrior pose and had to break the arrow. It was the most frightening thing I've ever done, much scarier than the fire walk. And after that, I started speaking my truth more. I started singing. I had a medicine woman's voice. Prior to that, I didn't speak as much. I didn't sing. And that's when I changed my last name to Crow. And so the arrow breaking ceremony was an initiation that was life-changing, just like every sweat lodge. Every sweat lodge is life-changing, pushing you to, anytime you're pushed to your limit, it changes you, it lifts your vibration.
Yeah, it causes you to approach the precipice and look at the vastness of the universe that you're inhabiting. And a lot of people become numbed by, the day-to-day doldrums of life, and they don't carry that vision like they should. Now, did you learn some songs from Native American medicine people or elders or people that you've met along the journey that were very specific to different tribal identities, that sort of thing?
Yes, I learned a couple of songs that I was told not to sing publicly. I learned many songs in sweat lodges that I do sing sometimes when I'm in a sweat, and some of the songs I created myself.
That's beautiful.
And of course, in certain shamanic circles, we always sing songs in the beginning and in the end of each circle and along the way. Singing is always part of it in a group, and you let go of what your voice sounds like. It's not about your voice, it's about letting your soul cry out and letting your soul express. It's beautiful.
Thank God, because I don't have one of those singing voices. But we're coming up close to the top of the hour here, so we have Nicholas Andrews, and he is going to tell us a little bit about the net of it. Hi, Nicholas.
How's it going?
Good.
You know what? The net of it's a show that's starting next month, but right now we have Eve sitting right here, so I actually have a couple questions for you real quick. And it's about sort of you had keyed in on a point where you said that, there are people that use this medicine in truth and in light, and then there are people that misuse. And at one point where I actually learned one of my main power animals, which is actually the wolf, I actually used that in protection of one of these people. It was actually an interesting thing that I was enveloped into a 170-degree deer-wrapped amethyst heat, no movement scenario. And as this supposed healing was going on, I felt that there was just an awkwardness to it, and that was the revelation of what happened. And it was neat. That's why in the beginning I was asking a little bit about maybe what you would see or envision, because right before a state where I was going into this, sort of unconscious, or 170 degrees is really hot when you're wrapped in deer skin, but I saw this sort of mist before I sort of lost in sort of a consciousness, and that's what I was told that happened. They used that as more of a negative thing, but I knew what that was something protecting me. So I started doing a little bit more research into what the wolf means as a power animal. And I thought it was very interesting because many of the things that does recreate, I've done my whole life. As far as the factors that animal would be used, I guess. But
that's one of my favorite songs is the wolf song. I learned a Lakota wolf song, and that's one of them. But it is unfortunate that some people misuse their power. I've had 2 people do that with me, and I've just sat up and said, I'm sorry, I'm not comfortable, I need to go. And so I, at this point, pretty much trust most of the people that are on the Foundation for Shamanic Studies. And Sandra Angerman, of course, her website lists people in your area. If you want to find someone in your area, go to either one of those websites. We're trained very well. We're trained around ethics. It will get around. If anybody did anything, it would get around very quickly. And so I like both of those websites. And if you're open, you want to just go with who you feel comfortable with. If you have a good feeling inside, then go with that person, whether it's remote or whether it's in person. If you don't have a good feeling, it doesn't mean that the person's bad. It's just not the right medicine for you. Maybe they aren't ethical, but maybe it's just not the right medicine for you. Yeah.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Well, I think more. I think more to the point. If people identify themselves with divinity, in other words, we're told through virtually every text that you encounter, as far as Holy Script, that the Creator created us as expressions of itself. And so if we are divinity in manifestation, the only thing that can harm us is the acceptance of an illusion about our identity, that we are not, in fact, the expression of divinity. And so I think a lot of people who go through the world with a fear of others and a fear of other people's powers and bad things and evil, the evil eye. You know, I mean, you go to when you land in Constantinople at the airport there, or Istanbul, I guess is more correct. But you walk through the airport and you see these huge evil eyes in all of the corridors in the airport. They're massive, you know. First time I went to Israel, we stopped first in Turkey and then jumped over to Tel Aviv. But the evil eye is only that part of you that fears, and that part of you that fears is a part of you that feels the separation from the Father Creator. So if you're having fear, if you're having apprehension about a healing modality, I would say 9 times out of 10 that fear is based somewhere within you, and you need to wonder why you were attracted to somebody who resonated with that fear and projected it back to you. So, and I think that's a necessary first step in any kind of spiritual healing, is that you recognize basically you're clearing fears. That's the groundwork that has to be done. Would you agree with that, Eve?
Absolutely. I also do coaching, and I basically have people sit down and say, you know, what's your goal? What would you like to create in your life? And the basis of where we start is, what are your fears? What are your fears that stop you from being the fullest expression of who you are? Mm-hmm. And then we go through and clear them. A lot of them are hereditary fears. We hear things that our parents say growing up, not to blame them, but we hear them, we embody them, we take them in, we kinesthetically feel them, and then we grow up and imitate them. So a lot of times we're unraveling the first 18 years of our life, you know, just from whatever we grew up hearing. Mm-hmm. And so, and all the different fears that can happen when we get out in the world as well, or other people's fears. Don't do that, this might happen. What about this? What about, you know? And so fear is the biggest thing to unravel in this incarnation. And fear also is the ego. If we are connected to our higher self and to our hearts and the Creator, we're not in a fear place. But as soon as the ego takes over, and that's of course why we do healings and meditate and balance our chakras and everything, is so that the ego can't get in.
Or at least we can tame it.
Tame it for a little while. Right.
Right.
Exactly.
Well, now we're moving toward the top of the hour, and you had offered our listeners a little sampling. What kind of a song were you going to do for us? And what should our listeners do to prepare themselves to receive your song?
Well, the song that I was hearing today as I was walking the earth, I was hearing Sing the Beauty Song. And it's part English and it's part native. And I actually learned it from a little boy at a ceremony. And so just to close your eyes and imagine that I'm singing the song just for you and just for your soul's healing and pleasure and beauty.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to use my white buffalo rattle. And it's going to take a minute to get comfortable and connected. Hey Yana, 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 hey ya, hey yo, hey ya, hey yo. I walk in beauty, yes I do, yes I do. I talk in beauty, yes I do, yes I do. I sing of beauty just for you and only you. Hey ya, hey yo, hey ya, hey yo, hey ya, hey yo. Hey Yana, 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 hey ya, hey yo, hey ya, hey yo. I weave in beauty, yes I do, yes I do. I sleep in beauty, yes I do, yes I do. I dream of beauty just for you and only you. Hey ya, hey yo, hey ya, hey yo, hey ya, hey yo. Hey Yana, hey Yana, hey Yana, hey Yana, hey Yana, hey Yana. Hey Yana, hey Yana, hey ya, hey yo, hey ya, hey yo. Oh.
Wonderful.
Wow.
Thank you
That
very much for
was
that,
gorgeous.
Eve.
You're welcome. I just feel blissed out after I sing. I get filled or something. It's so beautiful. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Immersing yourself in that divine flow. It's all in the river. Go down to the river. Take off your clothes and get into the river. And that's where it all comes together. That's what connects all of us, is the river of life. I really appreciate your spending an hour with us. We had a couple of bumps as we started to launch this evening, but everything kind of got ironed out in the journey. And Nicholas has offered us some good questions, trying to gain more insight into the things that you're doing in service to spirit as well as man.
Hey, Master Onefeather, there's
Yes.
one last question because somebody made me promise I'd ask because I had heard about you having a couple donkeys. And you said that you've seen other donkeys. Have you ever met or seen a zonkey, the half
No,
zebra, half donkey, that mix of stripes? Have you seen those?
not yet.
Not yet.
But
Okay.
but I heard that there was someone in Ramona that has um, horses and zebras and maybe the zonkies or something that they paint. I'm not really sure, but I think they're around here.
Oh, neat,
Mm-hmm.
neat. Just had
Yeah,
to ask.
that's
Yes.
funny.
Yes.
But thank
Very.
you so much for having me. I'm really, really grateful. It was fun and it was powerful to meet all of you and to be with all of you. And I think we did really good with Mercury in retrograde. We did good technologically speaking.
Yes.
We did. That's
I
for
had.
I'm
sure.
so grateful that I know about your show now. Now I can watch it.
Well, and spread the word because we're trying to get as much positive healing information out to the public as we can. The time is here. The time of the seventh fire has come, and we who are part of the seventh fire generation are committed to lighting the eighth fire, which is those are the ones who are going to be the very powerful healers and transformers of this next wave of human expression and human evolution. So thank you very, very much, Eve. And Marcella, what a marvelous evening we've had here. You have
Oh, it's
an up.
been wonderful. I've been so excited all week to have this wonderful Sunday evening with the amazing Master One Feather. I just want everybody to know that you can come to onefeatherjournal.com and there's a chat room there. You can chat with us live, and you can also book readings with Master One Feather. And there's also a really groovy donate key. Master One Feather is a master of sharing the love. So, Master One Feather, are you going to send us off with your amazing love?
I will, but my final thought for this evening, and I'm going to show you this because it's getting close to that time. This is a punchki. And for those of you who are not Polish, you probably don't recognize it, but it is a pastry, and it is an acknowledgement of that day before Lent actually kicks in. It's called Punchki Day, or Fat Tuesday. It's coming up in 2 weeks. We're going to have March 4th. We're going to have Fat Tuesday, and quite a celebration that previous Sunday night on March 2nd. So we'll be celebrating my birthday and Fat Tuesday, and looking for ways of expressing cultural union, cultural harmony. We have all these marvelous things from all these different cultures around the world that we're integrating. We're learning how to accommodate each other's uniqueness, and that enhances our uniqueness, and so we're expressing it on a much higher level now. So I will say, in conclusion, for this evening's show, get out there, share love, pass the love around, and we will see you in 1 week. Thank you for being here with us, and good night.